I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Starting a business on your own can be lonely and worrying. Selling online multiplies this issue tenfold. Getting expert help is a great way to reduce anxiety, wasted time, and confusion. The Amazing FBA mentoring program is in its fourth year of helping sellers to get started on Amazon. By now, we have former clients who have, starting from scratch, done 6 figures and even in one case 7 figures a year. Obviously, these are not typical results. These are exceptional people. Nevertheless, we can help you get launched faster, safer, and with a much higher chance overall of success. With clients from Melbourne, Australia to Manchester, England, we bring a genuinely international perspective. To find out more, go to amazingfba.com/mentoring. Thanks for listening.
So look, we must come on to the question of differentiating the product, because as you said, half of it is the data side. I guess this is more of the sort of human side. That's kind of poor division on my part, because obviously it shows up in conversion percentages if you've got wonderful looking pictures that look different from everything else. But tell me a bit about differentiation. How would you start, again, particularly from a newcomer's perspective? If you're looking in a market, I guess one of the decisions, which is the focus of this episode, is how to go into a particular market. You've looked at the data and you've got some kind of score for the listing optimization, including the placement of the main keywords, use of images, videos, enhanced brand content, or EBC. So how do you consider the differentiation piece as part of a market decision?
This topic specifically, I think we could talk for days on, around differentiation. And I think going back to that point of what I said, which is it's 50%. Data is 50% of the decision. The other 50% is that creative, entrepreneurial focus around, hey, how can I actually differentiate this product? How can I connect with my customer? How can I do this better than the competition? And there's a bunch of ways to tackle that. I think that the first point on that is that anybody who's launching a product on Amazon has to differentiate their product in some way, whether that's the simple ways through images and visually, or through your brand, or through how you communicate that product to customers, or obviously functional differentiation where you're actually changing the product. Whatever range of things that you're looking at, you have to differentiate in some way, because it's not only how you can beat your competition, but it's tied to the algorithm, right? If you can get that immediate click and then get a higher conversion rate, Amazon is going to see you as making money for them, and they're going to send you more traffic, and you're going to do better, right? So you've got to differentiate in some way. I would say, even before you're looking, I guess once you've looked at the data and you're looking at a product idea, I think it's really going back to understanding and doing a lot of work around your avatar. So when I say avatar, I'm talking about your target audience. The more you can understand who your target audience is, what their needs are, what are their wants, what do they love, what do they hate, what do they fear, and really breaking that down, doing some research, and nailing that down, you've got much more input to how you're going to differentiate your product, so that you can connect with that customer, and hopefully on an emotional level and a functional level, which is really important. So those are the kind of things I would say. Anybody who's going into Amazon, once they've looked at the data, my first question would be, how well do you know your target audience, and how much work have you done around that? And if the work is done, then I would say the second point is, how do you differentiate? But the trick around differentiation is not to over commercialize. It's commercial viability, right? So you can't over capitalize on your differentiation so that you don't have any net margin when you sell the product. And that's a really tricky thing that a lot of people get wrong in the space, is they think, okay, great, I have a $20 COGS product and I'm going to go and spend $10 on my packaging because I think it's going to stand out so much better than everything else. But you've just overcapitalized on your product, and you've got absolutely no money to work with in terms of your net margin. So those brilliant entrepreneurs are the ones who actually find a product idea, they can charge a bunch and differentiate in a way which doesn't add to your COGS in a massive way. So that's an important piece to get right.
Absolutely. And just in the aid of trying to eliminate all the 3-letter acronyms, so COGS, cost of goods sold, or that's a full one. Yes, I absolutely agree. And I'm very glad you brought that up, because a lot of people obsess. There are two things that I want to reflect back that I think is so critical from my experience of working with a lot of newcomers to the space, many of whom do really, really well. I've had people do over $1 million on the back of some of the work we've done, and many do nothing. As you say, a lot of people never get around to actually selling. But those who do, as you say, the massive temptation is to be, quotes, better in a general way. And as you say, that completely destroys your profit margin if you're not careful. So that's the first thing to say. And the second thing, you've just talked about understanding your customer avatar. And I guess pulling those two pieces together, if you understand exactly what somebody needs, a very particular person, you can provide that service for that particular person that does exactly the job they need, but doesn't try and be all singing or dancing and therefore make, net margin. I mean, that's what I'm taking from what you've just been saying. So talking of that, then, can we dig a bit further into that? How do you indeed differentiate something for a particular type of customer and keep your net margin? Because that is the $64,000 question in my experience.
Yeah. So I think the first thing there is to get information from your avatar, right? So we actually have a really unique tool called the love-hate tool, funny enough, which essentially what it does is for any given category or niche that you're looking at, it will word cloud all of the phrases around positive reviews and negative reviews for a specific category. And so in a couple of minutes, you will have this word cloud with common phrases. What do people love? What do people hate? Which is an important piece of information input into how you differentiate your product. So very quickly, you can see, are there common themes or trends and unique things that you can solve for that other products that are in the space are not solving for. So that is, again, going back to commercial viability and how you differentiate your product. You have to start with the research and the information, and that's a really critical way of getting in there. In terms of how I differentiate my product, I like to first think about those two key things, which is one, if I could functionally differentiate it, how would I do that? And then two, if I could visually differentiate it based on aesthetic or likes or that kind of stuff, how would I do that? And I would lean towards the former, obviously, because if you can functionally differentiate, that's an important thing. But the second question on functional differentiation is, how can I do that without a massive cost, without completely changing molds or things like that? So, and again, that comes to really understanding what your avatar needs, right? And it might be, I was looking at the one the other day, and it might be that, it's not weatherproof enough, or it doesn't have this additional set of zip ties that are coming with it, or something. There could be something very simple on that level. So those are things that I look at, and then I think that your brand and your images is absolutely the first thing you should be doing. And even today, people are doing a much better job with it, but you can do so much better. And I still come across people who are wanting to spend just a few dollars, going on to Fiverr to get images when this is one of the most critical things to your business is really shooting things in the right way and going off of Amazon and looking at the top brands. Any product I launch, I'll take my brand and literally put it in an image set with the top 5 world global brands for that product and say, hey, can I sit with these brands? Does my product stack up against these top brands in the space? And I think everyone should do that as an exercise, is literally look at how does your brand sit with the top brands in the world, because we have all the tools that we can absolutely compete with those these days. So you've got to really put some effort into that.
Absolutely. There's lots of good things. And again, just to reflect it back in, just to give people a chance to, grasp these things. First of all, the functional differentiation, I really like that idea. So it just works differently, which is important. But I would emphasize what you're saying about visual differentiation. I think if you want to get the click, which is once you got 3 jobs, how many on Amazon to get ranked, you got it found, get the click on the search results, and then get the conversion. You're not even going to get the click, in my opinion and my experience, if your product looks the same as everything else, even if it works slightly differently, because people aren't going to get to the point of reading all about how it's different if it looks the same. So I would really underscore the visual differentiation thing. And then also the brand and images, absolutely. I love your way that you've set yourself such a high barrier that you put it against the top brands in your space, presumably outside of Amazon as well. Is that what you're saying?
Outside of Amazon only.
Yeah. Just just the top brands in the world in that space. That makes a lot of sense. I like the fact that you're setting the bar that high, because really it is beginning to trend that way. As you said, there's still a lot of listings that are quite horrible, but the majority of private labelable products are have got some private labels sellers in the space, and they do generally do a nice job these days. So I think, you've got to stay ahead of that curve. But also, as you say, people are very cheapskate about images, which is weird because people don't actually the customers don't buy products, they buy images. And of course, if they get a product through the door and it's horrible, they give you a 1-star review. But they won't even get it in their hands in the first place if the images aren't great. So I couldn't agree enough. I mean, I think spending really good money and budgeting for that on top photography is absolutely a must. So absolutely agree with that. Could not agree more.
Yeah, it's my partner, co-founder Adam Hudson. He always talks about it as Tinder for products, right? That's a great way to explain it. Is like, you're not going to get the click if you cannot connect with your audience through how you visually look, right? And I think it's absolutely massively important.
Yeah, I love the Tinder for products thing.
Yeah.
So talking of differentiation, then, you already mentioned that we'd be looking at competitive listings in order to make sure that we can do a better job than them, whether that's visually differentiated, functionally differentiated, maybe with better quality images as well. So what about other aspects of competition? We need to kind of reverse engineer what the competition is doing in terms of keywords and ranking. How do you go about dealing with that side of things?
I think again, understanding your competitors, what are they doing today, but also what have they been doing over the last 6 months, a year, and how they've been selling on Amazon is important to know. So being able to historically look at your competitors, you're seeing the trends of the products, how long have they been around for, are they consistent, are they staying in stock, those kind of things, and just getting a much broader historical perspective of the behavior of your competitors and obviously customers in terms of when they buy, etc., is important. So again, we have tools that track competitors and customer behavior around those specific niches. So that's definitely an important point. Is not just like, what does it look like today, but what does it look like over the last 6 months to a year, and looking at competition from that perspective is important.
Yeah, that's true. That makes a lot of sense. And particularly because anything based around the BSR, which is often the way with a lot of tools, that it gives you a very, very short-term perspective on things. So I agree with that, because you want to ideally see where the trends are going with things, whether it's your competitors dropping their price all the time, which is never a great sign, or whether they have a spike in Christmas sales or anything else. What about figuring out what back-end keywords? Because obviously it's quite easy to see what front-end keywords competitors are using in their title or the bullets particularly, but the back-end keywords are obviously important for ranking via the algorithm. Is there any way to get around figuring out what they're doing with those things?
Yeah, that's an interesting question and thought, and something we've been looking at quite recently. And if you, a lot of the conversations that happen when we're trying to reverse engineer the algorithm is, how important are the back-end keywords? How are competitors actually using that? Are they black hatting it in the back-end keywords because it's not visible to customers? Are they actually following the guidelines that Amazon give? Are they not including competitors? These are all things that we'd love to know. Like, when you look at sales from competitors, you're like, how are they actually getting this? And one thing to understand is, what are they putting in their back-end keywords? And we have a tool that we've actually just released called Keyword Spotlight, which does exactly that. I think we're the first in the space, and it's a unique way. And you can literally spy on your competitors' keywords and see what they're putting in there. And it's pretty interesting to see what people are putting in there, not only from FBA, but Amazon, Amazon products and stuff like that. So you can just jump in and literally see that, and then use that to infer your listing and how you would like to optimize as well.
Yeah, that sounds very powerful, I have to say. I guess it's business intelligence, isn't it? Knowing what the competition's doing, that it's working, especially if it's somewhat hidden data, is often very valuable. So that sounds very, very good. That sounds worth checking out. And as you say, are they TOS compliant? If for example, you're starting to use trademark terms in your back end to get ranked for those trademark terms, that is definitely against TOS. And presumably, if you wanted to be nasty, if you could figure out that they're doing that, you could shop them to Amazon as well, right? Get the listing taken down.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all, I'd like to think that we're all in the space to do things above the line and in a great way, and everyone's just creating great products. And if people are not playing along those lines, you know, if you need to report them, absolutely do that. I think that the way I look at it, and from a tracking and an alerts and a business intelligence tool, when you've launched your product, is if my sales are going up or down, I want to know why. You know, and is that based on customer behavior, or is it based on competitor behavior? And so the more we can track from a competitor perspective, from pricing, stock, you know, trends, consistent listing optimization, whatever those things are, and the more we can get insights into that, the more we can make that decision. Hey, my sales are up or down because of X, Y, and Z. And the more we can give an answer on that, the quicker you can react within your own business. And that's a really important thing to look at.
It's true, yeah. Accurately ascribing a cause to an effect like lower sales is really important. I mean, I'm always amazed by some of the basics that sometimes sellers that have been selling for quite a long time, for example, have just taken on a client. He's got, I believe, 2,000 SKUs, which is kind of mental when they're very, very low sales per SKU for very specific reasons that I won't reveal, obviously, client confidentiality, etc. But amazingly to me, doing about $10,000 a month or something, so not nothing. And he just said to me, okay, so where do I find the business reports page? I mean, my jaw always hits the floor when somebody asks me that. So given that a lot of people who I would assume wrongly know a lot more about it, let's talk about some basics. What about keyword tracking? I mean, to me, it's a given that it's important, but can you articulate why keyword rank tracking is important, for example?
Yeah, I think, you know, we have a keyword tracking tool, and I think we track, forgive me if I get this wrong, but I think we track up to position 100 or a little further than that. I think it might even be position 200. But again, understanding how your competitors track for keywords, but also how you track for keywords is absolutely important over time, right? And how you're changing based on the algorithm and how you rank. Because at the end of the day, you know, you have to be visible for specific keywords. When a customer types in a keyword, if your door isn't open and you're there, they're not going to click on your link, or you can't even get the potential of the click, right? And being on page 1 versus page 2 makes a massive difference to the success of your business. So really understanding first, what are the main keywords that I want to target and optimize for based on competition opportunity and demand is really important. And then how do those track over time is critical. And a little bit more of an advanced strategy on that is sometimes today, a lot of what happens is it's much harder to rank for some of those short tail, high volume keywords because there is a lot of competition for those keywords, right? And what we find is that if we can actually identify some mid-volume keywords that are less competitive and actually target and optimize for those keywords, if I can get some sales and conversion from those because my competitors haven't found those keywords yet, what we see is that as soon as I start to spike on conversions for those mid-market keywords, I actually get a halo effect and I start to rank better for some of those short tail, high volume keywords. So it's kind of a little more of a backdoor entry into ranking for some of those competitive keywords. So understanding which keywords to target and then how you rank and how you improve over time is really critical to your success.
Makes a lot of sense. And that's a common theme that I hear from quite a lot of serious sellers. I mean, Kevin King, I was talking to you a while ago about this and say, yeah, if you're going to rank for blue widget black, oh, sorry, that's not very good. Blue widget small, for example, blue widget large, then you start ranking for blue widget full stop. So the shorter tail keyword over time. And in the meantime, you're getting cash flow as well. So that's a very smart strategy. Just to mention,
it's just on that, but I think that some of the feedback we're getting from some of our bigger sellers is using that keywords on fire tool to what we do really well is also find really relevant terms, which a lot of other tools don't find. So what that immediately is doing is giving you relevant tools that potentially a lot of your competitors haven't uncovered yet. And so if you can rank and convert for those, it's really helping you to rank for some of those shorter tail keywords. So it's kind of a best kept secret there that our sellers love. Yeah.
Sounds great. So the relevance of the keywords as well as the winnability is also important, which makes sense. But I guess you need a good enough tool to be able to differentiate. And by the way, we're talking about a lot of your ZonGuru tools. So we also mentioned that we got a deal for listeners if they go to amazingfba.com/ZonGuru. That's ZonGuru. ZON for November, GURU, ZonGuru, amazingfba.com/ZonGuru, and you can get lots and lots of tools from that. Just remind me if you've got a special deal for listeners. I think we set something up, but I can't honestly remember what it was.
Yeah, I actually set something up yesterday for your listeners, and I think the best way to provide value there is just to charge $1 for the first month. So if you literally go in there, we'll charge you $1 for the first month. So it gives you 30 days to really try the tool. I think a 7-day free trial is probably not long enough, especially for listeners who are using a bunch of tools. So get in there, use all the tools, and then make your decision based on that. I think what we also have, which is a little different, is once you choose a package, we have a lot of flexibility around which tools you then want to specifically use. If you want to use one or two, or if you want to use more, or your limits, etc., you can really customize your package to suit you. So you're not just stuck with one specific package cost. But anyway, it's $1. Get in there, use it for a month, try individual tools, or however however they please. Yeah.
So that's good. I mean, obviously, some of the things you're offering, from what I understand, sound pretty unique, even compared to some of the other research type tool sets out there. So that does sound really worth checking out. And if nothing else, if you're in the keyword research, the big push, especially if you haven't got a product live yet, it's obviously a great thing to do for 30 days, if nothing else. The other thing I'd say is that, a lot of things come in a big package of tools, many of which you're not going to use. In my experience, I end up using 4 or 5 of the main tools out of, say, 20 that are offered in many packages. So that does sound like a lot of common sense to me as well. So definitely worth checking out, folks. Like, it's $1. In nothing else, try it out. If you don't like it, then you can blame me for inducing you to spend 30 days of your life on something that costs you $1. But I think that's a bit of a no-brainer, given that some of the tools are pretty unique. They don't exist elsewhere, as far as I know.
Yeah, and try it out for $1, but give us feedback. I think one thing that we pride ourselves in is our customer support, and being at a level that's better than anything in the industry. And again, customer support individuals who are passionate about the industry and passionate about helping our customers succeed. So if you have thoughts and feedback, give that, and they'll help you along. And any feedback is great for us. So jump in there and use away.
Thank you.